Hi there, this is Luke. You're watching the Guide to Match Betting YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about quite an important topic, which is match betting no longer risk-free? Keep watching and we're going to be discussing it throughout this video. What I'm going to do before we get started into this video is look back to February 2017 when a match betting site called Profit Squad, who we do actually recommend on Guide to Match Betting, they got a ruling against them from the Advertising Standards Authority or agency, whatever it stands for, based on their use of the wording risk-free in their content. Now the ASA did actually rule against Profit Squad on this, and it meant that them and every other match betting site around pretty much had to change the wording on their websites around the use of the word risk-free, some of the words as well. But we're going to focus on risk-free in this video and discuss whether match betting is really risk-free. Now I know myself from running a match betting site that you do have to be wary with the ASA. Now the important thing to think about here is, my cat is on screen. And now you're touching the mic. You need to go away. Come on. The important thing we need to think about here is whether match betting was ever risk-free in the first place, because I have always thought that it is risk-free, or it was risk-free, and people who are experienced in match betting would probably tend to agree with me. But I think the reason I always thought this was because I was thinking about things the wrong way. So we're going to clarify it in this video now for you. This is obviously a pain for me to admit because I did have to update the whole website around the uses of the word risk-free to change things to say things like low risk or very low risk. You can even see it next to my face here, very low risk, whereas that used to say risk-free. You know, it really did annoy me, to be honest with you. I'm going to have to record some of my videos as well, some of my older videos from last year. I'm going to have to re-record them. I can obviously try and improve on them because my first videos were a bit shabby. I know these ones aren't exactly the best, but you know, I've got this new fancy background thing. It's all mysterious, and I've actually got a green screen behind me now, whereas I used to just sit in front of the computer and you couldn't even see anything that was going on behind me. And before that, I wasn't even on the videos myself. I was just talking over a really shitty animation that took hours to make and looked like it was made by someone in preschool. Let's get back to the main issues here. Is match betting risk-free? Now this is the reason why I've always thought about things in the wrong way. Because when I say match betting is risk-free, what I really mean is a matched bet is risk-free. If you match your bet, if you back one outcome, and you lay that outcome or you back against it on another site, it is risk-free. You cannot lose that bet. As long as you match your bet correctly, you cannot lose. The calculator, we've got a calculator here on the Guide to Match Betting site. We'll quickly put in some figures here, but I know a lot of you will have used a calculator before, but for those of you who haven't, what we're just going to say is, say you've got a free bet. It's worth £30. If you bet on something that are odds of 4 to 1 or 5.0 and the odds of 5.2 to lay off on Smarkets, you will make a profit of £22.69. That is risk-free in my opinion, because as long as I lay £23.17 and it gets matched at odds of 5.2, I will make a profit of £22.69 regardless of the outcome of that match. So that is where it comes, in my opinion, that a matched bet is risk-free. But here is why matched betting as a whole is not risk-free. There is the risk of being gubbed by a bookmaker. Now this is something I've never shied away from on the site. There's posts about gubbing, there's posts about avoiding being gubbed and mug betting and everything like that. It does say that it is a risk of match betting is being gubbed. So no risk. Obviously, if I'm saying match betting is zero risk and then I'm saying, oh, but there is a risk of being gubbed, then that seems a bit hypocritical. But what I've always meant by this is that being gubbed is a risk not associated with your money. You do not stand the chance of losing money by being gubbed, and if a bookmaker fails to credit you a free bet and says that you've been gubbed, but they never told you that you were gubbed before that, you do stand a good chance of winning a claim with someone like IBAS or people like that. You do stand a very good chance. In fact, I've won every single claim that I've ever taken to them. I think I've taken 3 or 4 cases to them, and I've won them all. It does take some time, but that is not a risk associated with your money. So when I've always said match betting is risk-free, I really have meant it to mean the money side of things. It's financially risk-free as long as you do it right, as long as you follow the odds and the calculations and everything like that. So there's the first thing, gubbing. Gubbing means that match betting as a whole is not risk-free, because you could be gubbed, you could lose access to your promotions, you could be stake restricted, all of those things that relate to being gubbed. Secondly, there's something that I was trying to emphasize there about making sure you get your stakes right. You need to lay on this very, very specific bet. You need to lay £23.17 at odds of 5.2 on with a commission of 2%, and you need to make sure you're matched at that figure as well. Let's say that you'd laid the bet and your bet didn't get matched, then obviously there is a risk of you losing your money there. Or what if you'd accidentally typed in £231.70 instead of £23.17? Then your liability is going to be £970. There is the risk then of losing a large chunk of money if the bet was to go against you. Let me tell you, if you do something wrong, lady luck does tend to balance out, so that if maybe you get lucky one time and win, the next time you're probably going to lose. So there is risk associated with human error. Again, this is not a match betting risk. This is the risk of human error, which can happen in everything. But I do have to state, for advertising reasons, that this is a risk of match betting, and I'm telling you my opinions for why I believe that's actually human error and not match betting. But I do have to state, apparently, as a fact, that you could type in the wrong figures, and therefore that is a risk of match betting. Those two things really around gubbings, stake restrictions, etc., and the human error factor are the main risks with match betting today. There's one other thing that I've thought about, which has never been an issue for me. It's never been an issue for the people I've spoken to, but it could potentially be an issue one day, you never know. If you don't use separate bank accounts for your betting transactions, and maybe you wanted to take out a loan or a mortgage, and if you had hundreds of gambling transactions on your bank statement, maybe that could mean that you don't get accepted for a loan or a mortgage. Is that a risk associated with match betting? I think it must be. It's related to the placing the bets, and if you don't get a separate account for it so that it's all, kept tracked independently, then I guess maybe there is a risk involved in that. And I would say that that is the biggest risk in my opinion, but it's also the lowest likelihood. Obviously, you're much more likely to be gubbed or accidentally make a mistake than you are to be rejected for a mortgage because of gambling transactions. I'd just like to emphasize again, I've never actually had any problems with the loans or mortgages, and I don't know anyone that has, but there is the risk there. So be careful, always try to do things through separate accounts or use PayPal or Skrill or anything like that. Before we get finished on this video, I do really want to stress that if you are new to this, you do not have to be really worried about these risks that we've spoken about in this video. As long as you are careful, as long as you do things by the book, if you double or triple check everything, if you follow the beginner course that I've got on the homepage that I always plug in these videos, just because I want to make sure that people are taught in the best way possible, and I do, being big-headed, I do think this free email course is really good. But if you follow instructions carefully, if you check terms and conditions, if you put in the right stakes at the right odds and make sure you're matched, you will be fine, I can assure you. Just be careful, and I want to emphasize that as well. Just make sure you're careful, because there are risks associated with match betting. Therefore, things that I've said in the past about match betting risk-free are completely wrong. Disregard them from this point onwards and take this video as a fact that there are risks associated with match betting, but you can avoid them if you just be careful. Make sure you hit subscribe if you are interested in more betting related content and more ways to make money on the internet. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.